What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy Domuto. We're back with another video today. We're watching Infinite. I'm gonna take the channel called first. The Mighty Emperor Infinite against Sonic. What if Sonic Frontiers had a tournament part 2? You know what I'm saying? We'll get into it, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and there you go.
Out next. Cream, Tangle, and some others try to comfort Blaze about the fight with Storm, but she remains mostly silent. Tails, slightly worried about how the situation's turning, looks to Sonic and mentions that the tournament alone was already hard, but the prospect of having to fight his friends makes it that much worse. Sonic ruffles Tails' head and tells him that they've been through a lot over the years. So long as one of their friends makes it to the end, he knows that they will make it right. The End then announces that the next match will be between Metal Sonic and Infinite.
Ooh.
Knuckles gives off a sigh of relief as he mentions that at last a fight between people he doesn't care about. But Infinite chuckles hearing that and speaks back to Knuckles, saying, "Are you sure about that, Commander? Have you forgotten the pain that you suffered at my hand? Or perhaps I imagined Operation Big Wave?" Knuckles immediately clenches his fist and grits his teeth at Infinite upon its mentioning, but Sonic puts a hand in front of him and tells him to cool down. Infinite chuckles once more, addressing Sonic. "How noble of you. Tell me, Rodent, will you still be as noble if you find yourself facing your friend in the arena?" Sonic blurts out that this is quite a lot of talk from someone who was beaten so badly before. Infinite's tone harshens slightly at this as he rebuttals, "I will make you regret ever standing against me.
Oh, shit.
You..." And then he turns to face Classic Sonic and the Rookie, who've been glaring at Infinite the whole time. "And them. The defeat you all delivered me has left a scar on my soul that will never heal. But it taught me a valuable lesson.
What?
I was weak. We were all weak then. But in the time since, I've spent all of my attention focused on the Phantom Ruby. I've been learning its secrets, listening to its voice, and accepting its
Did it talk
will.
back?
I am entirely different from when we last met." Amy says that he's gone crazy, but Rouge counters saying that he always was. Ignoring these comments, Infinite floats down onto the arena and lands, looking towards Dr. Eggman and asking if he will send his toy soldier to face him. Missiled by his address, Eggman tells Infinite that he should show him respect. "Have you forgotten it was I who bestowed the Phantom Ruby to you?" But Infinite counters this, reminding the Doctor that he's also the man who controlled all but the smallest margin of the world and yet somehow lost it all. Quite the impressive feat
You on
of
your ass.
failure. This clearly struck a nerve with Eggman, who returns, "Enough! Metal, show him what you're made of." Metal Sonic then jumps onto the arena and lands beside Infinite, who goad him. "Yes, that's right, Metal. Obey your master, like you always have. I created thousands of you, and yet you were still a failure. This shouldn't prove difficult." Infinite begins to rise off the ground as his power grows, in concordance with the whirling turbines of Metal Sonic's jet engine kicking in. Once he's ready, Metal boosts to the side, strafing around Infinite, keeping his distance. Infinite sends forth a horde of cubes in the shape of a tendril, whipping out from his body towards Metal Sonic. Metal continues to strafe in a circle around Infinite, but now also trying to avoid the tendril, which seems to be remaining in between Infinite and Metal Sonic's position. Just as Metal Sonic manages to outmaneuver it, Infinite flicks forward another one, which works to try and trap Metal between the both of them. Metal Sonic has great speed though, and good control in the air, and manages to weave through and around them, though he's unable to close the distance to Infinite. He starts flying up as the two tendrils begin twirling around one another, just about to ensnag his foot, which he then retracts to somersault into a flip towards Infinite, dodging both tendrils, which are now behind him. But Infinite simply propulses...
Prediction. My fault. I don't know much about Infinite, but he looks strong as fuck, though. He looks strong as hell. But Metal Sonic, though. I'm gonna go with Infinite, though.
Metal Sonic back with some form of force, and he only narrowly avoids hitting those tendrils on his way back, which then diffuse as Infinite says, "You're going to need to be better than that." The two of them boost straight towards one another, clashing against each other as their hands interlock, trying to push one to the ground, but neither giving up any positioning. Metal Sonic quickly releases one of his arms, causing Infinite to stagger past, giving him an opening to knee Infinite into the chest and then kick him across the face. Whilst he's still reeling from those kicks, Metal Sonic goes for an uppercut, but it was a trick. He was actually aiming for the Phantom Ruby on Infinite's chest, but Infinite just manages to put his hand in between Metal's and the gem, saying, "I don't think so," as he sends Metal Sonic flying back once again with a pulse of energy. This time though, he uses the Phantom Ruby to trap Metal on the ground, seemingly increasing the gravity force of the arena, as he says that reality is whatever he makes it. Metal Sonic struggling to even stand on his knees and crawling forward, digging his claws into the stone. Eggman anxiously looks on as Metal Sonic struggles beneath the power of the Ruby and calls out to his creation, "Come on, Metal, you cannot lose to the likes of him!" Infinite laughs down at Metal Sonic. "It seems you are as pathetic as always. You thought you stood a chance against me? You couldn't even beat Sonic the Hedgehog."
Oh shit.
Hearing this, Metal Sonic's head snaps up towards Infinite, seemingly enraged by this insult. He activates his overdrive ability as the jet engine in his back releases a flurry of burning orange flame that shoots him forward past the gravity well and straight towards Infinite at the speed of light. Fully aware of the danger this poses himself, Infinite moves back a bit and starts causing giant pillars of ruby energy to strike out from the stone floor, threatening to skewer Metal Sonic as he spins and rolls past them, but more keep erupting out of the earth to great height, trying to swat Metal out of the air, as Infinite comments, "I just need one of these to hit." Metal Sonic manages to avoid all of them though, and goes for a head-on collision with Infinite, who quickly manages to throw out some Phantom Ruby cubes towards Metal, but Metal Sonic then activates his black shield, an impenetrable barrier of energy, which causes the cubes to disperse and allows him to tackle Infinite as planned, pushing him so far through the air that he ends up colliding against an invisible barrier that stops them leaving the arena, pinning Infinite with his elbow at his neck, unable to breathe as he struggles, Metal still boosting at him against the barrier. With his free arm, Metal Sonic goes to grab the Phantom Ruby, and he tears it off Infinite's chest,
Metal
behind him. Perceiving this as a victory, Eggman can't help but jump up, saying, "That's my boy!" as the Phantom Ruby falls through the air. However, in a shimmer, Infinite's form dissipates from Metal Sonic's grasp and re-emerges around the Phantom Ruby. The Jackal proceeds to give a pained chuckle as he gloats that none of them can even begin to comprehend his true power, and he launches a Phantom Ruby cube into the back of Metal Sonic, who is unable to react in time and gets hit. In a flash, Metal Sonic finds himself on one of Eggman's old flying ships in a stormy sky, and it's only himself and Infinite. He goes to move, but everything's sluggish and slow. It's strange. His servos are all operational and he hasn't taken that much structural damage, but this doesn't seem natural. Infinite, on the other hand, takes his time to look around at the scenery, commenting that he has no idea what this place is, but it must mean something to Metal. He then starts laughing as Metal Sonic tries to come towards him at a snail's pace, and wags his finger, saying, "You're too slow."
Oh.
But as he says it, his form begins to shift into that of Sonic the Hedgehog, and then
You're
more
too
Sonics
slow.
all appear around Metal Sonic, wagging their finger, chanting, "You're too slow." And then they all spin dash into Metal.
I'm like that.
On the outside, everyone witnessed after Metal was hit in the back by a cube, he landed onto the floor and stood still. Infinite simply waited, but everyone else wondered what was going on. After some random jittering from Metal Sonic, he straightens up and collapses to his side, ending the match as he dissolves. Infinite chuckles once more and boasts, "I didn't even need to use a fraction of my power."
Oh, shit.
With his bout concluded, Infinite proceeds to float out of the arena to his own isolated
Come on,
spot.
Metal.
Zavok can't help but sneer over at Dr. Eggman, saying that now the old fool is all alone. Eggman huffs and doesn't look Zavok in the eye as he comments that he doesn't speak with traitors, which only causes Zavok to laugh. Elsewhere around the arena, Espio watches Infinite leave the arena with a fear in his eye as he says to his remaining comrades he can't believe Infinite has grown even more powerful. Amy grabs her hammer and says that she hopes he's the opponent she goes up against, because it's about time he receives some payback. In a twisted sense of humor, perhaps, the next match is announced, and it is between Classic Sonic and Sonic the Hedgehog. The faces of Sonic and friends all freeze up in surprise, but their, let's call them adversaries over the years, mostly burst out in laughter or wield a slick smile. Eggman says, "This is exactly what I needed to cheer myself up." And Zavok says, "I concur. What better than having Sonic take care of himself?"
You're too
Hey, with lots
slow.
of concern between the
Classic
two
sounded
Sonics.
Jaleel White
But just
voice in
as
this
he's
one.
about to say something, a gust of wind sends his hair flicking over his forehead as the two Sonics have boosted to their represented sides of the arena, dust lagging behind them as they stare each other down with a smile. Classic Sonic gives Oz a confident look as he rubs the underside of his nose. His older counterpart jokes that he was wondering who was the fastest between them anyway, but then gives him a proper look, asking if he's ready. Classic then gives him a stout nod of the head, and after a second's pause, they jump into action. Modern Sonic quite literally jumping into the air, whilst Classic begins revving up a spin dash. Once Sonic hits the ground, it turns out it was the drop dash, and the two of them charge towards one another in their spinballs. The two collide at the center of the arena, causing the impact wave to shake the ground, after which they start colliding over and over again at various points of the stage, so fast it's hard to keep a track of them, but the sound of their impacts ring true. Tangle can't help but look on with a sparkle in her eye as she comments how fast they're going, and Knuckles says that this is going to be one to remember. Just as Sonic is about to collide with Classic in the air once more, he's repelled and knocked to the ground by a flash of energy, only for a brief moment as Classic used his instant shield technique. Capitalizing on this opening, Classic runs across the ground up to Sonic, still recovering from the impact, grabbing his head and charging up a spin dash on Sonic's forehead, causing him immense pain as he falls over backwards. Classic, not letting up, runs towards Sonic's head on the
ain't
ground
fucking around.
and boots it with the side of his foot,
Yeah, Clash.
sending him spinning across
I didn't get
the
my
ground.
prediction on this one.
But he manages to twirl
I'm
onto
going
his
for
feet
Sonic.
nonetheless. Then, like a speeding bullet, Sonic uses his boost to come up right in front of Classic Sonic and deliver a devastating punch, which he repeats numerous times, like the shots from a revolver at different angles as Classic's battered around. Though not slow himself, eventually Classic gets the timing and manages to deflect Sonic's fist, re-engaging into a trade of hand-to-hand combat. While Classic starts karate chopping Sonic, the bigger Sonic tries to evade these attacks and counter with his own. But Classic, being smaller, is actually quite hard for Sonic to land consistently. Not that he doesn't, but Classic's definitely winning this exchange. Trying to get better positioning, Sonic uses a low sweeping kick which Classic jumps with ease. However, it was a trick, transitioning from this into a breakdance, leading into the cyclone kick that Sonic learned in Frontiers, where he spins rapidly with his feet towards the air, rising up, kicking Classic Sonic. Classic manages to block the brunt of the attack, but is still stunned by the impact while Sonic remains in the air. Noting the opportunity though, Classic Sonic positions himself under Sonic's current location and then tucks into a ball, presenting his spiky quilled back as the cushion to meet Sonic's fall. Sonic only has a split second to try and maneuver his way to the side of Classic, and while successful, he has a hard landing. As he tries to pick himself back up, he lifts his head just in time to witness Classic, who would put both hands on the ground and use both his feet to kick Sonic right in the forehead whilst he was on the floor, knocking him once again back down. Getting up to his feet quickly this time, Sonic gives a sly grin and says that it looks like Classic's been practicing new moves. But he announces that he's not the only one, as he proceeds to run circles around Classic Sonic with a strange pixelated trail behind him, the Psy-Loop technique. And once he completes a ring around Classic, he stops with a skid, looking over as he sees Classic Sonic assaulted by a barrage of razor-sharp wind, which launches Classic up into the air. Sonic notes this, saying, "Gotcha!" as he homing attacks Classic Sonic from the ground, knocking Classic towards the arena's floor.
Damn.
At which point, Sonic throws his hands out in front of him and uses the cross-slash technique. The sharp blue energy blades propel from his fingertips to Classic Sonic as a puff of smoke leaves the ground from the impact site. Sonic, finished with the maneuver, lands to his feet as the smoke clears. Classic Sonic is on one knee and he fails to get back up, falling over unconscious.
Damn.
Sonic gives him a thumbs up,
I knew Sonic was
saying
gonna
it was
win.
a good match, as he fades away. And with the Sonic Mirror match over, that brings a close to this episode of the Starfall tournament. We had two very power-hungry fights in this episode between Classic Sonic with Sonic, Metal Sonic with Infinite. Three
We still got a whole
Sonics
nother
for the
side.
price of one. Unfortunately for some of our players, they will not be participating in the future rounds.
Damn.
Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. They take a while to set up, plan, and edit, so if you really enjoyed what I have here, please leave a like.
Shout out to Mighty Emperor for this video, man. It's pretty good. I like this. I get to learn more about Sonic characters as well as, you know what I'm saying? See what the what ifs was like, you know what I'm saying? So let me know how you feel about the video down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out the last video right here. Check out another video you might like right here. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.